horror is about exploring the things that scare us, it's always interesting then to see what scares other cultures. I find myself drawn to Indian horror films recently, in the same way that in the late 90s and early 2000s I found myself drawn to Asian horror films, or the French Renaissance horror films 10, 15 years ago. What's happening right now in India is that the censorship is slowly starting to fade away, and more explicit and more challenging horror films are being produced out of the country. Last year there was a film called Mohini that was not very good, but very much a film I enjoyed. I know it's popular to blame Scream for all the ills of the modern horror film, but here's one place where I actually think it does really apply. Scream brought self-awareness, but it also brought a cynicism that we are yet to escape in America. And the Indian movies don't have that. Now, they have a lot of other cultural differences that make them difficult for a lot of Americans to really get into. And I understand those points, I really do. In the movie I'm reviewing today, Airaa, which translates to The Beginning, which is what I'm going to refer to it from here on out, just because I know I'm butchering the title. In the beginning of that film, there's a door that opens all by itself, and a character on screen actually asks, why did that door open all by itself? And in America, that would be really something cringy. It's something we really wouldn't do. But in an Indian film, there's a strong tradition of characters who play a expository role similar to like a Greek chorus. A lot of audience surrogation happens throughout their films, and that's something that takes some getting used to. So try to keep that in mind as we go forward with this review. The beginning opens with a fender bender. A bus driver is distracted by a butterfly, hitting the brakes too late to stop from hitting the car in front of him. That car hits the car in front of it, and so on down the line. This is a major theme of the film. Small unintended consequences can snowball and have massive effects. It also sets up the idea that sometimes tragedy begins with innocence. That what we don't notice, what we allow to happen, instead of what we actively try to make happen, can have consequences. The movie's second theme emerges just a few scenes later. Our main character works in a newspaper. She's underappreciated. She's doing a Dear Abby type column. She actually goes out of her way to try to present an idea to her boss and is summarily just dismissed. The idea is not even considered. She doesn't feel appreciated. At the same time, her parents are trying to set her up for marriage. India still has a strong association with arranged marriages and with marriages that benefit the families more than the interpersonal relationship. Her parents succeed in setting up a marriage proposal, despite her wishes. And in response, she flees to her grandmother's house, which is the one figure in her life who has always treated her with respect. Once there, she discovers that the house is haunted. But let's back up a second. The grandmother has a live-in caretaker who may or may not be a romantic interest. It's not clear, but he's mostly portrayed as comic relief, and that comic relief is played very broadly. So broadly that you could be confused of thinking the film had turned into a sitcom during the scenes he is in. This is, again, something that is different from the American movie-going experience and takes some getting used to. The point is that Yamuna, our protagonist, refuses to accept the idea that personal relationships are merely arrangements, means to an end. She needs them to be more. She needs her entire life to be more. She rejects the notion that she should be at anyone's beck and call or succumb to anyone's will. Keep in mind how this would play in with the butterfly effect from earlier. Her independence, her resistance to the status quo, to tradition, ultimately sets forward a chain of events which causes the haunting. The ghost at the center of the haunting is named Bhavani. She was a tragic figure in life where nothing went well except she met the love of her life and almost married him, but a chain of events on her wedding day caused that to never happen. So on one hand we have a woman who is resisting the urge to settle down and take a traditional domestic role. And on the other hand we have the spirit of a dead woman who wanted exactly that. That's the conflict. This is a film that could only be made in India right now while social mores were changing and while the way society viewed tradition was modernizing. The ghosts and our protagonists are an embodiment of this exact moment in India. The Beginning is a horror movie with a social message. It's gorgeously shot, well acted, and dramatically effective. It seems like a simple call to recommend it, and I do, with a caveat. People watch movies for a variety of reasons. Some just want to be entertained, others search for art or a statement, or to be distracted from their real-world troubles. One size does not fit all. The Beginning is a film that deserves to be seen. It's a well-made film with some great performances, an intelligent screenplay, and stylish photography. It may be a little overlong, but I saw no real issues with the story's pace. I enjoyed being in that world. The only issues that might keep an American viewer at arm's length are cultural. Its portrayal of Indian social institutions, as well as the differences in dramatic presentation, will doubtlessly leave some viewers scratching their head. If, however, you're willing to accept the movie as it is, and not judge it based on Western ideas about social norms and Hollywood storytelling tropes, you'll find a minor, but important, film that deserves its place in horror canon.